Hello.
We're alone again.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Hello.
So Diane is still not feeling well. So
No, she's still sick.
she's just going
She's getting
to
better.
watch
Well,
the
no,
live
we don't
stream.
know that. We
well,
don't know that.
later.
I told her that she could. Hey, Jay.
Hey,
Jay, I hope you're
welcome,
having a
brother.
good weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's not feeling well.
No,
So
she's getting better.
I'm sure
though.
we'll see
She
her
is.
back on Wednesday.
Oh
then.
yeah. It's just
Yeah.
been a very slow go, and I've been talking to her for days. This is like her 5th day being sick, but she's managing and she's sounding better. She is getting better. It's just a very, very slow process.
And she doesn't have anybody to take care of her, so she's
No.
pretty much having to take care of herself
Yeah,
while she's sick. So that makes it really tough.
Yeah. Yeah, but we've been praying for her, and I think she is getting better. She's getting up and she's doing more things, but because she has to work, oh, she is. She's okay. She's doing okay. To be honest with you, we have no idea what's coming up through our country right now with people that don't belong here. And so I really kind of expect for people to be getting little bugs that we don't know what it is.
They're bringing disease. They're bringing different bugs. They're bringing all kinds of things with them,
we don't
parasites, things like that. So we don't know. She's in an area where a lot of refugees are going to Minnesota. So
we don't know that. We don't know that.
Anyway, we're kind of guessing. Yeah.
Anyway, so Jody is here. Hey, Jert.
Hey, Jody. Thank you.
Jert. Call her Jert.
Gert.
But no, she's managing. She is getting better. I've been talking to her every day, and she is getting better. She's just very, very fatigued. Yeah. So she's not up for being on the live stream. But we hope everybody's doing well. You've had a good weekend.
Welcome back.
It's coming to a close. I'm very sorry. But Thanksgiving is coming, and I don't know what they do in
Had a short week
Canada.
this week.
What do they do in Canada?
I don't know if they can't do Thanksgiving in Canada.
I'm sure they have their own. Maybe.
It's like South Korea has their own Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Maybe Canada does too. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So you'll have Thursday and Friday off? Or just Thursday?
Yeah, but I'm on call this week.
Oh, you're on call.
Starting at midnight.
But that's okay
tonight,
because that's okay.
So I'll be working.
Yeah, and then he's doing fine, and he's busy around the house. He's doing stuff like he's always tinkering, and I'm not really used to that. It's nice to see his energy coming back, though. It is.
Yeah, I've always been kind of
tinkering. You tinker.
Doing things, but the last,
staying busy.
I don't know, just lately I haven't really had a lot of energy, but I'm feeling much, much better now. So
I think have no infection in your body at all.
Some stuff going on for quite some time. It just finally manifested.
And it's the same thing. It was the same thing, like fatigue and just like slouchy.
So I hate to say, going to the hospital with sepsis was a good thing, but maybe it was. So,
if it's not a test, it's a blessing. Anything.
Even if it is a test.
What did he say? He says, "I don't know. I just code."
And if it's if it was a test from God, I hope I
think
passed.
So yeah, I had a test and I passed.
Yeah.
I think.
So
anyway,
we will go ahead and get started.
But I just wanted to say, would you kindly smash it like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the show with your friends.
Help us reach more people.
Yeah.
And if you believe, anything about prophecy and where we're at today and, everything that I'm talking to you about, then share this with everybody so that they can know too.
Everybody's talking about stuff.
It's really, it's sad. What's really, really sad is there's an awful lot of people talking about politics. And there's a lot of people that are getting it right, and there's a lot of people that are really there's people coming over from the other side saying, wow, this is crazy, and but that's all political stuff. All the false prophecy teachers are out there still teaching false prophecy, and there's a lot of these political guys that are kind of religious that are throwing these prophetic nonsense theories into their live streams and podcasts, and I hear them, because we watch so many people and just to keep up to date on everything, and it's like they throw this stuff in there. It's crazy. We need to know the truth, and that's why we're here to try to help people to understand the Bible, not crazy theories, that we can actually study it for ourselves and we can actually understand it, because God will give it to you just like he gave it to me. I prayed about it for years. I studied, I zealously, ravenously studied the Word of God and prayed for God to give me understanding, and he did. Yeah. And that's why I'm here to share it with you, and everybody should do the same thing and learn. That's what it's all about. And I'm one of the, I know there's other people out there that believe the same way I do, that have the same understanding that I do, but we're kind of few and far between. There's not a lot of us. And so that's why, I really encourage you to share these videos outside of, you can't really share things on YouTube. You can't share things on Rumble. You can share on Facebook. You can share on Gab. You can share on any social media. You can send emails to your friends with the URLs. You can. There's a lot of ways to share. So please do. I don't make any money off of any of this stuff. I know that Rumble has monetized me, and I know that some of my videos actually have commercials in them, but I don't make. Well, I don't want to lie to you. I've made like $12 over the last few years since I've been on Rumble.
You don't even make money off of your book.
It's not.
It's just.
And I'm not here to make money. I'm here to to serve my Lord and my God. Yeah. And I give my book away for free. You can download it from any of my websites. Really, you can get it for the cost of printing if you want a hard copy on Amazon. I'm not about money. I'm about God, and that's all it's about. And so, share to help people understand. That's really the only reason I ask you to. I don't need to gain a huge following and make money. I just want people to know the truth, and that's why I'm here.
So, and if you are watching later, that's okay. You don't have to be here live stream. A lot of people think that they miss the live stream and it's just over. That's not true. Our videos are still up, and you can go, and we know a lot of people have watched later. So it's okay. And
they're just in the list on the Rumble channel, and they're on the live tab on YouTube. All you have to do is go to the tab that says live, and you can find all of our live streams. Let me share here real quick. I'm already sharing. Never mind.
We just have to, what's her face?
YouTube, Prophecy and Truth. There's several tabs, and if you click on the live tab, it has all of the live streams, so you can get those there. The home screen also has the playlists and the shorts and video lists and stuff, but you can get to them all from the tabs at the top. So, and for anyone who's wants to know my website, I have it here on the channel, where you can just click on it and it'll take you right to my main website. So it's right there, easy click. Looks like I got some notifications I haven't seen yet. So anyway, please do share. Help us to reach more people.
Can you put our face up there?
I can put our face.
Because it would be better. No, I'm just saying.
You mean,
it would be better so that.
That's what
they would at least.
I'm sorry, I do have to share.
At least being able to look at you when you're talking.
Sorry, I'm being it's kind of funny. I'm highly technical. I'm a programmer. But sometimes I
forget to do stuff technical.
Get caught up thinking and talking and forget to do stuff. So there's our faces, so you can see our smiling faces while we're studying
our mugs.
And so I'm going to jump back in to our study. Now, this is part 7. So if you haven't been with us yet, you're missing a lot of discussion. Oh, I forgot. I've got to do the prophecy update first. So let me do that first. I've got a series of articles that I've saved just for this. And I'm going to, there's a lot of stuff still going on. Everything that we've been talking about the last few weeks is still going on. We're still waiting for things to escalate. We're waiting for the war in Israel, Gaza to escalate. We're waiting. The war in Ukraine, that's kind of weird right now because it seems to have kind of stalled, and it seems like Putin's just kind of waiting, which is kind of what he's done all along. He has never actually gone all out trying to take Ukraine because he doesn't want to kill all the people. He just wants to take the territory.
Yeah.
But he wants to keep the people, and that's and so what's going on there is it's just kind of stalled, and I guess Zelensky is gone, and he's trying to get other people to give him money now because he's not getting it from the U.S. And so he's trying to make new friends, and we'll see how that goes. Israel is still going all out after Hamas in Gaza. There's talk about trading, giving them some of the captives that Hamas kidnapped when they were there, and but they're not really interested in any kind of negotiations. Why would you be when someone just came over and killed a bunch of people and then stole a bunch of your people, women and children, and are most certainly raping and brutalizing these people while they have them? Why would you want to negotiate with people like that? But and we're going to talk a little more about Gaza because I've talked about it already. Where Gaza was Egyptian for a long time. It was basically run by the Egyptians, and then after World War II, it was there was a lot of territory in the Palestinian area. There was a region of the world called Palestine, but there never was any Palestinian peoples, if you know what I'm saying. Back at World War I, there was and it's like I've talked about where Mark Twain actually wrote about Palestine, but he was writing about the region of the world that was called Palestine. There was not a Palestinian people ever. There never was. After World War I, they kind of gave the region as a homeland for Jews, for the Israel. And they called it Philistia because of the Philistines back in the Old Testament so they kind of named it that. And that's where Palestine came from. After World War II, it was the region was Gaza was kind of Egyptian before. After World War II, Jordan has kind of taken over a lot of the territories, but it was always intended for Israel since World War I. Before that, it was basically sackcloth and ashes, as Mark Twain put it. It was just there was Syrian and Lebanese and different even Egyptians. People Jordanians that lived, but it was mostly nomadic Arab tribes. There was no real peoples that lived there. Gaza, like I said, it was largely Egyptian, and there was a lot of people that lived there, and there were some cities of a type, but there was never really a Palestine, and so that's just all history. If you actually go and research that, you'll find that I'm speaking truth. If you listen to mainstream media and then all of the lies that are being spread, then you'll think that Israel is occupying land that was Palestine before.
It was never their land.
And it never was. In fact, the occupation of Gaza was never really anything. Israel had military in Gaza. Why? Because the Arabs were always uh, jihad attacking them, so they had military to try to stop that. So when it was 2005, I guess, they actually left Gaza completely with all of their military, but they just kept a border around Gaza so that they could try to stop some of the jihad attacks coming from there. It was nothing other than that. Gazans still have free access to go anywhere they want in the world. They're not in a prison or anything like that, like everybody tries to say. But they didn't have free access to Israel because they were constantly attacking. Now, if somebody's constantly attacking you, you're going to kind of be careful about who you let in, right? And that's all there was to it. I know that it gets way blown out of proportion, but that's really the truth of the matter. And but I'm gonna recommend a video for y'all to watch at the end of this section, because it's a really good video from Robert Spencer of jihadwatch.org, he is a very, very educated man when it comes to Islam and everything going on in the world of Islam, and Hamas and Al Qaeda and Hezbollah, and they're all just Muslims. There's really no difference between any of those groups. They're all Islamic, and they all serve the same God. They all have the same doctrines in their religion. They all come from the same place and want the same thing. And it's all just the same people, just different groups, different factions with different names. But I'm gonna show you that video. I'm gonna show you the link to it anyway. It's about an hour long, but it's a really, really good watch. But let's run through some really quickly. I'm going to go through some just a few of the articles that have come through this week. And I'm mainly focusing on Islam and what's going on with Hamas and that, because like I said, everything else that we've been talking about is still going on. And we're still kind of waiting for things to materialize, waiting to see what happens, what comes of it. So definitely talk about it when it does, but we're kind of in that middle area right now where we're just waiting. But Hamas, I talked about this last week a little bit, how Hamas has, there's been billions and billions of dollars that were given as humanitarian aid to Gaza. All of it goes to Hamas. Every single penny goes to Hamas. And here's the net worth of the leaders of Hamas. Now you ask, where are they in Gaza? Well, they're not in Gaza.
It's just the fighters that live in Gaza. It's not the top people. It's just the fighters.
No, the top people are not there on the front lines.
Yeah.
The top people live in Qatar, a different country, living lavish lifestyles, as they're having their people, their soldiers go and fight for them. And they're not even giving any of this to the Gazans. The Gazans live in squalor because all of the humanitarian aid has gone to these guys' net worth. It's important to understand that.
But it is a functioning area, though. Gaza is a very functioning area.
And they have farms, they do have food, and
resorts.
They even have resorts and things there. Yeah, it's not like the entire area of Gaza is tense, is squalor, and living in tents or anything. I mean, they actually have very fine, nice resorts and different nice areas there. Some of it is definitely.
They have hospitals and schools and functioning businesses, and
but it's not. It's not what they try to get you to believe.
Yeah, that they're just so oppressed there.
Yeah. So that's where all the money goes, by the way. In Texas, Islamic scholar praises the Gazans for having thrown horror in the hearts of the Israelis, because this is the Quran. Make ready for them all that they can of force and of war horses, so that by them you may strike terror and the enemy of Allah and your enemy. And so this is all just part of their religion. This is what they believe. This is they hate because they're taught to hate. First of all, the Jews. Second of all, the Christians. And third of all, anyone who's not a Muslim. and they're taught this. And their God is a God of terror and destruction and hatred. He's not the God of the Bible. This is kind of this would be funny if it weren't so sickeningly just vile. Here's a guy who's laying there for the camera. They're taking pictures of him all and how he was supposed to be this victim in Palestine. But it was all, his mom shows up and she's freaking out because he's looking like he's half dead. He gets up, they take the wrap off his head, and he's like, no, I'm just fine. It's just for the camera. And this happens this is the propaganda coming out of there is constant, and it's all lies. All of it is lies that come out of there. You can't get your information from Hamas and expect anything but lies. In Germany, the Muslim youth there, you remember that Germany is being overrun by the migrants, the Islamic migrants, just like the UK, just like Italy and France.
The UK is fallen.
And this is the Muslim youth in Germany. First, we cut the throats of the Jews, then the gays, and finally the Christians. This is their goal, is to kill. That was Hamas' goal, to go in to Israel. They had no goal other than to kill. That was their goal, just to slaughter. This is Islam. That's why I'm kind of focusing on this today, because it's important that we understand Islam. It is not a peaceful religion. It is not what they try to convince you of. It is a horrific, evil, vile religion of Satan. Mm-hmm. Their God is Satan. Their God is, in the Quran, it actually says, and this is part of the video that I'm going to recommend. In the Quran, it actually says that Satan, or Allah, Allah is the chief deceiver.
Yeah, the chief liar.
What did Jesus say about Satan? That he's the father of lies.
And also, Allah doesn't have a son. So he couldn't have been.
That's what their doctrine is.
They say Allah did not have a son, which means that it can't be God
because according to them, But the thing they don't understand is that they are actually worshiping Satan. That their God is Lucifer, and he has them deceived 100%. He's got them so deceived, and it's a very sad thing. But fortunately, there's a lot of Muslims that are coming out of Islam these days, and as Robert Spencer talks about, they don't stay where they live, because when you try to leave Islam, the penalty for that is death in Islam. If you try to leave that religion, they kill you. And so what they do is if they convert, they leave and they go live somewhere else.
They go in exile or whatever. Is that what you say?
Well, it could be called that, but they self-exile because it's better. They have a better life if they're not living among Muslims when they're non-Muslim. But Germany getting overrun, Hamas blocks Israel fuel delivery to hospitals. They're purposefully doing these things. And then what they do is they propagandize that and say, look what, the hospitals have no fuel and it's all because of Israel, but they block it so that they can then whine about it and lie about it later.
They don't care.
It's all propaganda, and they care nothing for the people that live there. They're all just cannon fodder to them for them to achieve their goals. That's all they want. And then I put this in here because, there was a 300,000 pro-Israel rally in Washington, D.C. And we've seen where there's hundreds of thousands of pro-Hamas. And we call those riots. Because guess what? There were 300,000 people here and there was no violence.
No violence, no fighting.
Nobody defaced anything or destroyed anything. It was nonviolent. The violence always comes from the other side. Always. Even though they're claiming to be people that are for peace, they're always the violent ones. It's kind of weird, but true. But so I wanted to put this here because it's important to understand this major chasm that is going on right now, this line that's being drawn, and the wide gap that now exists between about half of the people in the United States and other countries in the West, where there's this huge gap now. And this is what they tried to do with race wars. They've tried to do this with a lot of other things. They've finally succeeded with this, where they're actually creating this huge gap between the pro-Israel versus pro-Hamas. Mm-hmm. If you want to call it that, maybe conservatives versus the whatever you call the other side, the people that say they're all about love and tolerance and acceptance, but all they do is hate and they're the racists. It's funny that they say we shouldn't be racist, but they're the ones that are racist. But there's a huge gap being created right now between people. And so I only tell you this just so that if you weren't aware, that you can start thinking about this, because it's happening. And this is what they've wanted all along. They want to create this divide so that they can divide and conquer. It's happening. These are happening all the time. Nigeria murdered 15 farmers, beheaded some. Muslims, when you meet the unbelievers, strike the next. Quran 47:4, right? They're just obeying their scriptures. They're beheading people in the name of their God.
Yeah, their religion.
Mm-hmm. The UN, this is a UN official, declares Israel has no right to defend itself. And it's kind of funny. I've brought this up many times, how, there's so many people that believe that Israel and the Jews specifically are like responsible for everything. They control the world. They control everything. They control the media. They control well, if they're so in control of everything, how come they don't control anything? That's what I always ask. Why don't they actually control anything? I mean, the UN is always against them. Always. If they control everything, how come they can't even control the UN? They don't control anything. And all the propaganda actually comes from Islam, comes from Iran, comes from the PLO, all these organizations, Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, Hamas, all of them have been lying, pushing lies, trying to get everyone to hate the Jews like they do. And so they've been pushing propaganda to try to make the world believe it's all the Jews so that everybody will hate them. And it's horrifically actually happening, where there's so many people now that I see all the time on social media and especially with this divide that's happened now, where people have fallen for that propaganda and are just deceived by it lock, stock, and barrel, and they're absolutely convinced that somehow the Jews are responsible for everything. Well, as you know, in my articles on who's the puppet master, who is they, the article I did and the video I did on the stage being set, I talk about this all the time, where it's not the Jews, and it's not even necessarily like some other organization. It's not just the elites. It's not just the Illuminati. It's Satan. Satan is behind all of this, and his major force and his major success and deceit is Islam. And they push so much propaganda against the West. We're so easy, we're so gullible that we fall for their propaganda. But it's Satan, and it's his multiple organizations, including the secret society, the 33rd degrees, that the elites belong to, that they're all vying for the top spot and fighting amongst themselves to try to get to be the leader when all of this finally happens, where they've been promised by Lucifer. And you can, this is not something I'm making up. This is in books that have been written by these people that control these organizations, that are high level in the secret society, that Satan has promised them this new age of mankind, this utopia where there's going to be far less people, and all of these people that are worshiping Satan are going to be the leaders and the rulers of the world when it happens. This is the promise, that this is what they've been deceived by. And this is, by their greed and their pride, this is what they want. They want to be the rulers of the world, and have all of the people just support them. And it's Satan ultimately that's behind all of this, because he is the master liar. He is the father of lies. He is the chief deceiver, and he's deceived the whole world already. We haven't even seen the Antichrist come yet.
That one's going to be an easy one, though.
You can see how it's going to be a shoe-in.
And we talk about that all the time. Yeah, it's going to be so easy for everybody just to line up to take the mark, because look at how many people are on the side of Islam.
Yeah. And they don't even know what they're supporting. They don't even
know what they're supporting. They're just blindly following a religion that they know nothing about.
And I should have saved this video, because I watched a video this week
the Quran,
where there was a guy that was going around asking people if they support Hamas. And when they said, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely on board with that," and so he's having them sign a petition. He said, "Well, before you sign the petition, I need to read some things to you to make sure you understand what you're signing." And he started talking about Sharia law. He's talking about how women are, they're forced to cover themselves. They're half a man. They don't have any rights. He's talking about how they hate gays and how they kill gays. And talking about how
they're not LGBT people.
Their religion tells them that they must kill the infidels, and that it's okay. They basically can rape any woman that's a non-Muslim and have her as a sex slave if they want to, because she's worth nothing. Talking about how in the Quran and in the Hadith and the Sunnah, which are the things Muhammad said, the things Muhammad did, and are taken with equal authority as the Quran itself, is that Jews are pigs and donkeys. They're not even human, and that they're to be hated, and that they're supposed to lie.
Well, they're supposed to lie. They can they can lie to their wives, and they can lie to anyone that is not a Muslim.
Right. And taqiyya is actually a doctrine that's taught and used to deceive people all over the world. But the interesting thing about that video was people were all on board to sign this petition to support Hamas until they learned exactly what Hamas was about. And then they're like, wait, I don't want nothing to do with this. all of them. And it's because people are supporting something they have no idea what they're supporting.
Follow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is supernatural. That I can't believe that people would support anything without looking into it. Just blindly marching with I don't get it.
Yeah. And then, the AP's put out its wire stories falsely claiming that only tens of thousands attended. There was 300,000.
Yeah, there was a lot.
But they're claiming exaggerated numbers of anti-Israel and pro-Hamas, and it's the media is blatantly lying, purposefully lying.
Yeah.
And it's insane, but they're doing it. 300 people heading to DC. Oh, this is another one that bus drivers refused to drive people to the DC rally. They walked out of their jobs and walked off and left the bus sitting there because they refused to drive people to DC that wanted to go to the rally.
Now I can.
They're
That
so
Antichrist
deceived.
getting the mark of the beast is so easily.
You can see how it's going to be so easy now.
It's going to be.
I used to wonder how
the
Antichrist was going to. I figured it was maybe him. The war, the aftermath of the war. People be clamoring for peace. You can see how it's going to be actually really easy for him now. The way things are going is going to be super easy for him. In Texas, Muslims on the terror watch list, murder cops and hostages, had bomb-making materials. These are the people that are coming across our open border.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see things now. Here's and Pope Francis giving this guy a hug. This was a while back, but it was a few years back where he was, saying, Islam is not evil, but this same guy is saying, rejoice in the demise of the descendants of the pigs, talking about Israel, Jews. Rejoice in the demise of the descendants of the pigs. And this is the guy that Pope Francis was touting and hugging on, saying that, Israel or Islam is so peaceful and nonviolent.
Bring them together.
It's like he is such a deceiver.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say who it is, but somebody who I was watching on a live stream or on a podcast, who I never thought would go along with Islam in any way, shape, or form, was kind of sticking up. Well, he's Catholic. And he was kind of sticking up for Hamas. I'm like, what are you doing? And now I can see how the Pope, the Catholicism and
the
Islam
Pope is actually creating a divide in Catholicism. Today, there's a lot of people that are very against the Pope. 2024 is very, very uncertain.
Yes,
and we're waiting to see if we're even going to have an election here in the U.S. What kind of wars we're going to get drawn into? What's going to happen? Whether there's going to be food shortages. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we're wondering. What's China up to? What did Xi Jinping and Biden talk about while the doors were closed and there were no cameras?
Said that there was some bribery going on.
We already know that there's bribery. We already know that Biden is owned by China, and I bet there was some bribery. I bet there were some threats. I bet there was some conceding on the side of Biden to Xi Jinping, because Xi Jinping has him strapped over a barrel. And I can only imagine what they talked about.
And when Xi Jinping came into San Francisco, his motorcade was coming down the street, and there was communist flags on both sides of the road. No American flags.
San Francisco.
Yes.
Waving communist flags.
It's happening so fast, and I think people need to start waking up. People need to stop thinking that there's going to be 1,000 years left. And they need to start looking at what's going on, and they need to start preparing. You need to prepare.
There is no time left.
There's no time. Yeah, there's no time left. This is coming very, very
and then
soon.
This, I'm sure you've heard about this, Osama bin Laden's letter from 9/11. And people are reading it now and going, "Oh, wow, I agree with him."
Yeah. Now I understand.
They are so brainwashed.
Yeah,
they are so brainwashed.
Very scary.
They hate their own country, and they believe the lies. They believe just outright blatant lies that they've been taught. They've been brainwashed with this propaganda. It's happening. It's unreal, but it's happening. The Iranian commander, get you?
Yeah.
Warns Israel to expect further pogroms like October 7th. They're going to continue sending their minions because Hamas and Hezbollah and Al Qaeda and all of those groups are really just groups created by Iran to wipe out Israel. That's their goal. It's never going to stop. Ever. Yeah. Until Jesus comes back. China actually justifies Hamas's terror attack on Israel.
And Biden playing both sides of the fence.
They're on the side of Iran. China is buddies with Iran. They do business with them. They're always going to be on their side.
It's Russia, China, Iran, North Korea.
Here's another. This is just the stuff that happens every week, scary. Multiple times in Africa and other countries. Muslims murder 70 people, mostly children and elderly, in a jihad raid on a village. They're just constant. This is constant. This is every week. There's new articles about this happening all over the place constantly.
Yeah.
And we're never taught that. We're never shown any of those things in the United States and mainstream media ever.
Yeah.
I talked about how the vast majority of Palestinians back the Hamas massacres. And I got new numbers is that over 50% eagerly support it. Another 15-20% are kind of like, well, yeah, I think it's a good thing. So it's more like 70 or 80% are for it still. And a reminder that back in 2006, 70% of the people elected Hamas to the government, knowingly elected them. 70%. These people are not victims. They're not poor Palestinian, just caught in the middle of this. No, they are all for it. You have to understand that. This is not something where they're wishing it wouldn't happen. No, they want this to happen because they're Muslim, and that's what their religion teaches them. Again, in Ireland, we will do to you what happened on October 7th again and again. Allah is the greatest, is what that means. It doesn't mean God is great. It means Allah is the greatest.
Yeah.
And Allah is not
Satan.
God. The name Allah was actually the name of the moon god of the pagan Arabs.
Yeah. Baal,
which came from Baal worship in the Old Testament. The religion of the Moabites was to worship the heavenly bodies, of which the moon was the largest in the sky. So it was the great God. It was called Allah.
Do you know? I mean, do you think that they believe that they're actually worshiping Satan, or do you think that they
most
think it's
of them
just
do
their
not
God?
think so. They're taught that it's God. Yeah. So a lot of Muslims don't understand their own religion. A lot of them never read the Quran, just like Christians never read the Bible and don't understand their own religion. Neither do Muslims. In fact, most of the Muslims that convert away from Islam is because they read the Quran for themselves and realized that they're supposed to kill for their God. And
how
they don't want
women are
anything to
treated.
do with that.
And how women are treated. There's so many Muslim women who will try to get away from this because of how they're treated.
Yeah, because women in Islam are equal to half of a man.
Well, they're all
50%.
They don't marry for
they're
love.
worthless.
They marry because somebody forces them to marry somebody
in marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all abused. I don't even know. I can't even tell you
Muslim men are instructed
stories.
to beat their wives into submission.
Well, they're just they're just so abusive to them.
If you don't know anything about Sharia law, study it, because Sharia law is the most horrific, awful set of laws in the world. It's horrible, and this is what all Muslims want. Muslims want Sharia law.
Well, Sharia law is about to come to the United States.
Yeah.
So
they already have Sharia zones in Michigan and Minnesota, and they're heading. And there's one in Texas, I think now.
Is there one in Florida?
No, not in Florida that I know of. But they're trying to create these enclaves where American police don't go in there. It's run by Muslims and Sharia law, and we don't even go in.
My sissy's on.
Hey Diane, glad to see you're here.
Yeah. She is resting, but she is listening in on YouTube.
Yeah,
and we love you, and
we're glad you're feeling better. We've been praying for you.
Yeah.
In Spain, Muslim migrants are fighting the police in Barcelona. This is what's happening in Europe. I've been talking about this the last few weeks. What's happening in Europe is what's coming to the United States. This is coming. And it's, we miss you too. I know. We miss seeing your face.
We understand, though. We understand that you don't feel good. So it's okay.
It's all right.
She is getting better. So
and
slowly,
we're glad.
But she is.
Mm-hmm. But this is coming. It make no bones about it. It is coming.
Mm-hmm. And then that's good.
And this is the video that I really highly recommend everybody watch this. I've got a link here to it. I'm gonna hit Control, click.
Oh yeah,
and it's on
good.
Jihad Watch. It's jihadwatch.org. And I've got a link to it here. On my document. Because I really, really, really encourage anyone who wants to know anything about the lies about Palestine. Robert Spencer is an authority on that. Yes. And he's so knowledgeable, and he just says it like it is and gives us the truth. I really, really recommend watching it.
And this James Cadiz, I don't know. He is Egyptian, and his mother was a missionary in Gaza.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's an interesting story. Watch the video. So if you go to jihadwatch.org and scroll down the page, it's right on the home page. At least it was earlier.
Can't you just post a link? Can you post
there it is right there. And it's Robert Spencer with James Cadiz on how the Palestinian cause is based on lies. Watch that video. And yes, I will paste this link in the chat.
So
let me go to
because that is so good. Everybody needs to watch this. Please watch this.
So there's
it's in the chat.
There's the link in the chat. I really, really, really recommend.
Sometimes the chat goes away after it's over. I just want you to know
it will go away on Rumble. On YouTube, you can watch the replay of the chat after it's processed everything, once the video's done. But I'll go ahead and paste that in after the live stream and in the comments on both YouTube and Rumble.
Yeah, please do.
So people who watch later can get that link.
highly recommend watching that. It's only an hour, and
it's so full of good.
It's eye-opening.
Jihad Watch is a news. I subscribe to his newsletter. I've read a few of Robert Spencer's books. One that I highly recommend. Surprised it's not on here. It's probably on his homepage.
Oh, he has lots
where
of
he's
books.
got all the books. But the history of jihad. Get that book and read it. It's very, very eye-opening about where Islam came from and jihad came from, and really what it's all about. The history of jihad by Robert Spencer. Highly recommend. And definitely watch this video. I mean, unless you're totally know everything already about the lies that come out of Palestine and the lies about Gaza. If you know all of that already and don't need any additional information, then you don't need to watch it. But if you're like me, and I probably know way more than most people about this, especially about Islam, because I've studied it. But Robert Spencer he's
an expert on it.
He's an expert, exactly. And it's a very good, very informative video.
He used to be a Muslim.
He was raised
as a Muslim,
as a Palestinian terrorist. He was raised. Oh no, not Robert Spencer. Sorry.
Yeah,
that was Walid Shubat. It's a guy.
Yeah,
that's another guy that. No, Robert Spencer was never a Muslim. He was. His parents were Egyptian, moved to America as refugees, and he was born in America.
Both of those two guys right there that you see are the first American born
of their families.
Families.
Yeah. And it's his family actually moved to America because they refused to convert to Islam.
That's right. And, that's right.
That's why they moved.
Yeah, they tried to get it.
Yeah, but watch that video. It is so good.
Oh, it's so eye-opening.
So that's all I've got for today.
I
really
that James dude.
Yeah, he speaks Arabic. And he's also very knowledgeable.
He was reading from.
I don't know as much about him, so I don't recommend him because I don't really know anything about him. But he's got Robert Spencer as a guest on his show, so it's a really good show.
Yeah.
So definitely watch that. That's all I got. I like I said, there's so much news I can only cover a tiny bit. But that's what I wanted to talk about on the update today. It's just everybody needs to be so aware of what the reality of what's going on and dispelling the lies of Satan. Satan has the world in a stranglehold right now with his deceit. And there's so many people that are so deceived by the propaganda, by the outright lies, by Islam, there's so many things, Catholicism even, if you're a Catholic, then come out of her. I mean, you have to understand as a Catholic what Pope Francis is doing.
Oh, he's bringing the religions
interfaithism
together.
And creating this temple and all the things he's doing and the lies about Islam that he's promoting. You've got to understand that the Pope is an evil Pope, and he is not doing the work of God. And why would you stay in the Catholic Church? If you're a Catholic, and you love Jesus, come out of her. Mm-hmm. Come out of her.
And I've heard Catholics tell me they don't really like the Pope, but I'm like, then why are you still a Catholic?
Yeah, because he's your supreme leader. Yeah. Anyway. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to shift gears now. I'm going to go to our Revelation study. And I was reviewing the last week's live stream, and I kind of went really quickly through some of the events of the time of the Antichrist. So I'm going to cover a little more on that, but I'm going to do a quick review on the whole thing, just because this is the 7th week, but we need to understand the sequence of events. And if this is your first time here, I'm on my website, BibleProphecyandTruth.com. If you go to that website and go under Biblical Prophecy and go to Understanding the Book of Revelation, this has the full study in text. But if you click on this jump to the timeline of events, down here I've got this a PDF, which is a big document that you can scroll. And let me get rid of that. If you click,
oh my goodness,
expand it, it's a timeline all the way from the beginning to the end. All the way at the return of Christ and the new heavens and the new earth, the end of the 1,000-year reign. But it's, if you want to see that, I've got that there. But then I've got this link to a document, which is this one that we're studying right now. Now, I've got it in an iframe with this. I probably should just take that link and change it to do this, where it's a single page, because it's much easier to read, in my opinion, like this. So this is what we're studying. If you're new, please do go back and watch the live streams, the previous 6, because what I'm doing this time around, and I'm going to show you something real quick on my YouTube. And on YouTube, I have playlists. On Rumble, it doesn't give you the opportunity to make playlists, but on YouTube, I have playlists, and I have a full study on Revelation, 21 videos on this playlist, which goes through the entire book of Revelation, verse by verse, basically. And then a live stream, which basically we do the same thing. It's 12 live streams where we did a series on the book of Revelation, where we studied it, through the book of Revelation, just studying it from chapter 1 to the end of the book. But what we're doing this time is we're going through the book of Revelation in the order that things actually happen, because you can't read the book of Revelation as if it's a chronological record of events. It's a series of visions that end at the same place, and then what happens after, and the 1,000-year reign, and the promises of God, and what happens at the very end, and the new heavens and the new earth. But the main bulk of Revelation is a series of visions that all end at the return of Christ, at the day of the Lord. But some of them are happening at the same time. So what I've done is I've created this document which goes through the timeline as it actually occurs. So I'm going to do a quick review, and then we're going to talk some more about what's coming next and what to expect during the time of the Antichrist and what the Bible shows us. So we start with Revelation 12, remember, because this was the vision that John was shown of the birth of Christ, Satan's attempt to kill him, and then his ascension into heaven. So the first 5 verses of chapter 12 are actually history. So that's the first thing that happens in the timeline, because that was even before the writing of the book of Revelation, because John was on Patmos as a prisoner, was shown these visions around 80-90 AD was when this was penned. So it was after the time of Christ. So that's the first thing. And then chapters 1 through 3, chapter 1 is where Jesus appears to John, dictates letters to the churches that existed in that day to deliver to them, and then shows him all of these visions to write in a book, which he did, which is why we have the book called The Revelation of Jesus Christ, because John obeyed that. He took those letters that were dictated, he delivered them to the 7 churches along with all of the visions that he was shown, and that's why we have this book. But that was kind of the things that happened, the things that are, because it tells us, write the things which are, the things that thou hast seen, and the things which shall be hereafter. And so this was the things that are, that Jesus showed up, appeared to John, dictated the letters, and then showed him 1 through 3 are, as those letters, and John showing that he was visited by Jesus. And then chapter 4 goes into where John is taken up to heaven, and where it says, let me show you, because Revelation chapter 4 is actually the beginning of the things which shall be. I looked, and behold, a door was open in heaven. The first voice I heard as it were a trumpet, He said, come up hither and I will show thee things which must be hereafter. This is where he begins the future visions that he's shown, that we see in the book of Revelation. And then again, we see this vision of heaven where it's the sea of glass mingled with fire, and the four beasts with the different faces and the wings and the eyes, and the 24 elders, and the throne with God, with the depiction of God is just this swirling mass of color, because God is a spirit, and that's why it depicts him as this, like you can't see a spirit, so it's like this spiritual representation of the Spirit of God sitting on the throne. And then Jesus is shown to be given this book where he begins breaking the seals of the book, and chapter 5. And that's where, and then we talked about this, where I really absolutely believe the first 4 seals have been broken. And they've been broken for quite some time. The spirits of Zechariah 6, I believe, are parallel prophecies of the first 4 seals, the horsemen of Revelation. And those spirits have been working in the world for over a millennia now. And I really believe that's true. You don't have to believe it. I'm not saying it absolutely is. I'm just absolutely convinced that it is. But like I always say, we don't know for sure. I can't tell you absolute certainty that these 4 spirits are the same as the 4 horsemen, but I absolutely believe they are. I've got a link there. You can study it yourself, or you can look at I kind of went through it very quickly in our live stream this time around. But the other live streams, I go into great detail on them, and on the other the playlists I showed you. The first 4 trumpets may have blown. I'm not as convinced of that. It's very compelling, and I think it might have happened, but I don't know for sure. There's events in our history now that match these so well that it's really very compelling. But study those. We already talked about it, so I'm kind of going through this as a summary, so I'm not going to revisit that. But please do go and there's other on my website. I've also got some other the 4 horsemen, the 7 trumpets. So you can see what I'm talking about there if you want to read those. And I also have videos on them too. So please do. And then we talked about what we're expecting next. How, we know that the sealing, though, 144,000 is going to happen, but we won't necessarily know that happened. Why would we? How would we? Right? We don't know. There's going to be men who love Jesus that are Jews, as it tells us in Revelation 14, that these are men. I should go there again. Revelation 14, it tells us that this 144,000 are the first fruits unto God. They're the first fruits unto God and the Lamb. They're Jews that are not defiled with women. They're virgins. They follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. And you have to remember that it's the Messianic Jews that are the real Israel today, the real Jews. Those that do not believe in Jesus are hewn off, as we're shown in Romans chapter 11. They're hewn off, and we're grafted in as Gentile Christians. We're grafted into the tree of Messianic Jews and become part of the heirs of the promise, part of the children of Abraham through that. And we're not supposed to boast against the branches that are broken off, but be grateful that we're grafted in. See, we don't hate those Jews that are, rabbinic, practicing Judaism, don't believe in Jesus. They're no different than any other lost souls. And we should love them just like we love all the other lost souls and try to help them understand the truth. But they are not God's people. There's no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. It's a contradiction in terms. It's the Messianic Jews that are the real Israel, and then the Christians that are Gentiles are grafted into that. We are all Israel. Those that love Jesus are Israel. Yeah. We are the Jews. The land of Israel is a totally different subject. The area of the covenant that God made with Abraham, the land, the promised land. God chose to put his name in Jerusalem. That's what he said. And that's why Jerusalem is never going to be destroyed. We still have the old city Jerusalem with paving stones that Jesus walked on.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be destroyed. When the Antichrist is bringing his armies to wipe out Israel at the end of the tribulation, that's when Christ returns and wipes them out. He's never going to allow it to be destroyed. But that doesn't mean that all people that live in Israel are God's people. They're only the only people that are God's people are those that love the Lord Jesus.
Yes.
That's period.
That should make sense to people who really love Jesus.
Yeah. And so sorry, any of these could happen next, right? The 144,000 will be sealed. The three woes, like I said, I don't know if the first four trumpets have blown. They may have. We may be waiting for the fifth trumpet. But the three woes are separated from the first four trumpets. In my mind, the first four trumpets are kind of warnings from God. He's saying, wake up, hello, stop being so blinded, look to me. The three woes are woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the next three trumpets, is what we're told. And those are going to be horrific world catastrophic events that the whole world is going to feel. And so we're waiting for the fifth. Whether or not we're waiting for the first four, we're definitely waiting for the fifth, because that's going to be one that will be unmistakable. And Satan has set up the world to believe in aliens, so that when the fifth trumpet blows and all of these demons come out of the bottomless pit, and as these locusts, creatures that are going to be like aliens, and they're going to sting people, and for 5 months they're going to torment mankind. And Satan set up the world to believe they're aliens when it happens. I absolutely believe that's why he has created this lie about aliens, so that when that happens, they'll just say, it's aliens. And nobody will look to God and look to the Bible for those answers. But we will, because we'll understand it when we get there. Like I said, go and read my article or watch my videos on the seven trumpets to see about that. I also have a newsletter that I did on aliens. I'll show you real quick if you're interested. If you go to BibleProphecyandTruth.com and go under the notes menu, go to the e-newsletters archive, and then click on the list and type and search for alien. And there's a newsletter I did, Are There Aliens in the Bible? There's a really good video from an astrophysicist that was actually in charge of investigating alien sightings, and talks about what they really are. And about 1% of them actually are kind of not something that you can explain away by some other real event. And he talks about what it actually is, whether it's aliens or demons. And I'm telling you right now, there is no such thing as an alien. It is a demonic fallen angel. Mm-hmm. That's what the aliens are. These are artist depictions of what the locusts in the fifth trumpet.
I like this one.
What the fifth trumpet might look like. Yeah.
The next one.
This
one. Yeah. We like that one.
Yeah, that's kind of but that's what the fifth trumpet is going to be, is these creatures. The bottomless pit is also the deep, as when Jesus cast Legion out of the man that he found in the tombs, they said, please don't cast us into the deep, which is the same word used, the same Greek as the bottomless pit. Mm. The deep is where there's many, many demons are imprisoned right now. And when the bottomless pit is opened at the fifth trumpet, they're all going to come out as these creatures and start stinging people. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be a horrific time. But that obviously hasn't happened yet.
Well, nobody thinks that there's so many people who don't even think they're going to be going through that, but I'm sorry.
And that's, I've got lots of articles on that too. What the timing of everything. the timing is actually very explicitly stated for a lot of things in scriptures, and the timing of the gathering of the saints is very explicitly stated. And I would encourage you to study up on that if you believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Study the scriptures, because Jesus and the Apostle Paul were very, very clear. It's coming after the tribulation. And that's absolutely provable with scriptures.
Yes, they will.
There's other people that will say, well, I can prove that wrong, but they use a philosophical theology. They're speculating on what some things might mean instead of just believing the Bible. So if you do believe in a pre-trib rapture, please do study it. If you go to my website under biblical prophecy, the chapter 9 is on the rapture. I've got video there. I've got articles linked to the main article. There's just so much information for you to study, and scriptures for you to study, where you can prove it yourself just by believing the scriptures. So we don't know when those might happen. The fifth trumpet could come after the confirmation of the covenant, after there's a peace treaty signed in the Middle East, where the United Nations and the whole world gets together to sign this peace treaty and create a peace treaty for 7 years, which is what we have in Daniel 9. And Jesus spoke about that. When you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, is where the Antichrist, in the midst of that 7 years, will break the covenant and claim to be God. But it's that peace treaty that we're waiting for. This is the thing that we're absolutely waiting for right now. Is for that to happen. And you can see how this war with Hamas is actually, you've got a lot of countries now saying, well, we just need to force this. They're actually starting to say that. We need to go in there and force this peace between these two and create a 2-state solution, or a 3, whatever they're going to do to create the peace treaty. They're talking about going in there and making it happen.
I just don't
so they can stop all of this.
No, I believe the Bible, but I'm just saying right now, I don't see a 2-state.
Well, Palestine, Hamas is the rulers of Palestine. And they will never ever
they don't want it.
Have
a
2-state solution.
No.
Israel has always been ready to do some kind of conceding to help create a peace treaty, but it's Palestine that will never agree to it. They've always been the roadblock, and that's why I believe that they're going to go in and they're going to force it. And like I said last week, I believe this is why in Luke chapter 21 it says, when you see Jerusalem compassed by armies, know that the desolation is nigh. Which the abomination of desolation, is where the Antichrist takes over the world, where he sits in the temple of God claiming to be God. And I believe that that's what he means there, is that Jerusalem will be compassed by armies forcing a peace treaty, and not necessarily at war for that particular prophecy, but it'd be forcing, like United Nations troops in there forcing the peace. Now, I could be wrong about that, but that's just kind of how I see that prophecy playing out. There's going to be a peace treaty, and it's going to be forced. There's no way that they're going to agree to anything. The Antichrist will be one of many that signs that peace treaty, but we won't know who he is at that time. We won't know who he is until he sits in the temple of God claiming to be God, which is what the Apostle Paul tells us. He says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except to come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So this is when we're going to know absolutely who the Antichrist is when he's revealed. And what he's going to do is he's going to sit in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. He's going to actually claim to be God. And the false prophet is going to be pulling fire from the sky, doing miracles, saying, yes, he is. Yes. And that's how it's the whole world is going to be fooled by this.
It's so obvious prophecy being played out right now.
Yeah.
It is so obvious.
And it's
it's
becoming
happening very
clearer and
quickly.
clearer and clearer.
Yeah, and it's happening very, very quickly. Look at how quickly all of this picking sides between Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians, and look at how quick it happened in 1 month. It happened in a month.
You can see how easy it will be for the world to convert to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Because about half of the world is ready to do so right now.
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
Once the Antichrist takes over and it becomes a forced issue, many more will succumb to that and just give in rather than dying or watching their family be killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we're waiting for. Absolutely waiting for this peace treaty to be signed. And then about 8 months after that, remember, is when the Antichrist is going to stand up from Daniel chapter 8. And he's going to begin gathering power, and he's going to begin creating that 10-nation union, which is the 10 horns of Daniel 7, the 10 horns of Revelation 13, the 10 kings of Revelation 17, the 10 toes of Daniel 2. It's that same 10 kings in all of those scriptures that the Antichrist will create this military alliance. And I absolutely believe it's going to be an alliance of Islamic nations, where this 10-horned beast is going to be, it's the fourth beast of Daniel 7. And let me show you these real quick. Daniel 7. There's the lion, the bear, and the leopard. And then this, and the leopard had 4 heads. And then there's this fourth beast, and it was diverse, and it had 10 horns. And it tells us that these 10 horns are kings. In this, in the interpretation, all four of them are kings, but then the 10 horns are also 10 kings that shall arise. And the Antichrist is basically going to take over those 10 kingdoms and align with them. And it tells us the same thing in Revelation. But you see, I want to point out this. I know some people have seen this before, but the lion, the bear, and the leopard, and then this fourth beast. And the leopard, remember, has 4 heads. So we've got a total of 4 beasts here, but we've got a total of 7 heads, right? Because the leopard has 4 heads. So there's 1, 2, 3 plus 4 is 7. So we've got a 7-headed, 10-horned 4 beasts here, right? Well, if we go to Revelation chapter 13, we see this 7-headed, 10-horned beast who has, he was like a leopard, his feet is the bear, and his mouth is the lion. So we've got the lion, the bear, and the leopard again. And then the 10-horned beast, they're all together in one beast here. And I like to show these pictures because picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Here's Revelation 13, where all of them are together. A 7-headed, 10-horned beast. And that's the fourth beast. I don't remember if I have a picture of the, if we go to, I'll show you here. Got other pictures. Modern nations in the Bible. If we look at this, we see a picture of Daniel 7 and the beasts that are there, the lion, the bear, the 4-headed leopard, the 10-horned beast, and then how it becomes this single beast. And then, as we also know, the great prostitute of Revelation 17, it shows her riding the beast. If we go to Revelation 17, we see the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. So this, it's called the great whore, the great prostitute, if that word bothers you. But she's the mother of harlots. She is a great this woman, which is a church that goes a whoring after other gods. That's the language God uses in the Bible when someone turns against him and goes a whoring after other gods. Yeah. He says that, and that's who this entity is. And And it's this same, it's the beast that has the 7 heads and 10 horns. So it's this alliance of nations that we see in Revelation 13 that she's going to ride on, which is why I have this picture here. This is her riding on this. And so when we look at Revelation chapter 13, and we see that there's this Antichrist, right? That he's going to be given a mouth speaking great things. He's going to be given power for that 3.5 years that we've talked about. There's a 3.5 year period of time where the Antichrist is going to rule the world. That's the time of the tribulation. It's spoken of many, many times in the scriptures, and he's going to make war with the saints during that time. Which, as we just read, and as we saw from the mouth of Islam itself, that they are going to first kill all the Jews, and then all the gays, and then all the Christians. That's going to be that's going to be the goal of the Antichrist, is to kill all of the Christians and the Jews.
And your family members will sell you out.
Yeah.
If they don't love Jesus, they're going to sell you out before they're going to let their own children or spouse get
and they'll
killed.
think they're doing you a favor too by saying
you need to
I
just
know
get
where they
into
are.
it.
They're over here. So please go make them, take this mark so that they can quit being stupid. That's how they'll think. They'll think they're doing you a favor when they're sending you to be killed. But that's because the whole world's going to be deceived by the lying wonders of Satan. Remember, all of these lies, the deceit that Satan has got the world just in a chokehold with, it's going to be even more powerful when the Antichrist takes over. And everybody's just going to fall for it. And they're all going to, remember, he's going to come in the name of peace. We've talked about that in recent weeks, where he comes in the arms of peace. He's going to deceive the nations. And they're all going to be, world peace finally under the Savior of the world. But it's going to be the Antichrist of the Bible.
Yeah, Annie said, and some will just be evil.
Yeah, some will give you up because
they're evil.
They think you're being dumb and you might as well die. That's a lot of them think that way.
Family. So y'all better get ready.
Yeah. So this is what we're looking at here, and I'm kind of reviewing a little bit some of the things that we talked about last week, but this is what's coming. This is during the time of the Antichrist. During the first half of those final 7 years, we're going to see where Israel is basically safe for the first half of that final 7 years, because this peace treaty is going to be signed and it's going to be forced. And then we're also going to see the where did I have that? Somewhere I have it in here, where the temple is going to be rebuilt. Oh, I have it up here. The temple is going to be rebuilt, and I believe it's going to be shortly after the signing of the peace treaty. They're going to give them permission to rebuild the temple. There's plenty of room on the Temple Mount. I've shown that in multiple videos in the past, where there's lots of room on the Temple Mount next to the mosque where they can actually build a temple and resume animal sacrifices, which is what they're going to do. And it's
how long has that mosque been there?
A long time. I don't know for sure how many years.
To have that, it seems weird, because if that was the holy city, right?
Well, it's been there for like 1,000 years or so, I think.
Wow.
I don't know for sure.
It's supposed to be the holy city. How did they ever allow that thing to go up? Well, because they didn't really love Jesus. That's why. But they didn't love Jesus. I'm just curious on how long it's been up. How did they let that happen? Al-Aqsa?
Well, they had the mosque there before the war.
Oh, it's all right.
I'm not finding it right off the bat. I'm sure you can Google and find it, but I know it's been there for a while. It's been there for a long time.
To allow it, it's just kind of.
Well, Satan put that there, Satan's always trying to subvert the prophecies of the Bible, trying to make things happen, trying to do things differently. But God's very much in control. In fact, I love this scripture because this is one that just proves beyond any shadow of a doubt that God is very much in control still. Yeah. For God put it in their hearts of the 10 kings to fulfill his will, so they would give their power to the beast.
King David?
They would align with the Antichrist. God puts it in their hearts.
She said since King David?
No, the mosque has not been there since that. Oh. The mosque has only been there since Islam was created in the 7th century.
Mm-hmm. And see,
so it's only been there for maybe 1,000 years. I don't even know if it's been there that long, but I know it's been there for a while.
And see, they want right now the Muslims want this to escalate and escalate and escalate because they think they can force their Mahdi to come into
They believe that they can actually bring their Mahdi into existence by creating these wars and world chaos. They actually think that that's part of the prophecies of Islam. That's part of the prophecies that Satan set up to fool them 100% when the Bible comes to pass.
So they're trying to riot. They're trying to do all of this.
And they really like one of the things they're trying to do that's in that video I asked everyone to watch is they're trying to get Egypt involved in the war, so that because Egypt is part of the Arab League, and if Egypt gets involved, that's going to bring other Muslim nations in, and that's going to create this huge, and because their goal is to create a world war, to create this massive war to bring the Mahdi. Yeah.
Mahdi. That's how they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Mahdi.
Mahdi. Yeah. So the temple is going to be rebuilt. The first half of that final 7 years is going to go fairly peacefully. Now, I say that, but I mean only in Israel. I don't know what's going to be going on in the world, but in Israel, it's going to be fairly peaceful during those first 3.5 years. The war could be happening. The Third World War could be happening outside of that. I don't know. Because I don't know if it comes before or after the confirmation of the covenant, before that signing of the peace treaty. The war may happen before that, but it might happen after. We don't know absolute certainty. The Bible doesn't give us that time frame specifically. Now it's almost an absolute certainty that it's going to come before the Antichrist takes power. But it could come in that first 3.5 years. It could just be a war outside of. I mean, when we look at what China's trying to take over the world.
And they're here.
They're really pushing things. And so it could be a war between China and the West, and that could be happening outside of all of this. So we don't know
everybody. For sure. Do you know we've got everything and everybody in this country right now? Everything. We've got communism. We got Islam. We have so many things going on that the pot is boiling already. It's already boiling. It's just ready to slosh
boiling over. So we're waiting. We know that's going to happen. But then the Antichrist is going to set the temple of God claiming to be God. And he's going to take over the world in the name of peace. And by peace, he shall destroy many. And so then we're going to see, the power of the 10 kings is going to be given to the Antichrist. And I am absolutely 100% sure that the Antichrist is going to be a Muslim.
Oh, yeah.
Especially after what we're seeing in the world now, it's going to be a Muslim. And the false prophet, I know most of the Western world believes that the Antichrist is going to come out of Europe. But the false prophet's going to come out of Europe.
Because there's two people.
The false prophet is going to support the Antichrist and unite Europe with Islam. And like I've talked about in previous live streams, it's not going to be a union of Catholicism and Islam. It's going to be a submission of Catholicism to Islam, which is exactly what Pope Francis has been doing all along. He says interfaithism, but there's no interfaithism in Islam.
No.
They do not align themselves with other religions You either become a Muslim or you die.
Or not.
And so it's going to be a submission since the Catholic Church already believes that being a Muslim will have the same salvation as being a Christian. Why not be a Muslim?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a lie from Satan, but that's believed by the Catholic Church. It's in the Catechism, Article 841. It says that. And so it'll be a submission of Catholicism to Islam. And he's going to arise. There's going to be 10 Arab nations that will submit to him as their Mahdi and allow him to establish the caliphate of Islam that they're all chomping at the bit to do right now. And so it's going to be those 10 kings, the 10 horns of Revelation 7. That fourth beast is going to be this 10-nation union that the Antichrist creates by claiming to be their Mahdi. I'm absolutely certain of that. You don't have to believe it. Study it for yourself. Go and look at all my articles that I've written and decide whether you believe it's true or not. Watch my videos, but I'm absolutely certain of it myself. The Antichrist brings several other kings for political and military union, right? The lion, the bear, and the leopard. He's going to bring those in to create that union that we see in Revelation 13, where the lion, the bear, and the leopard and the 10-horned beast are all one. And it's the dragon who is Satan. It tells us in Revelation 12 that the dragon is Satan. And that's him that gives his power to the Antichrist. Because in Revelation 12, we're shown that there's a war in heaven. Hasn't happened yet. And a lot of people teach that it's already happened, that Satan's already cast to the earth, but it's not true. There's a war in heaven in Revelation 12. And it happens at the same time or around the same time that the Antichrist takes power. And I believe it happens just before that, because there's going to be a war in heaven. Michael and his angels are going to win, and they're going to cast Satan and all of his fallen angels with him out of heaven, and he's cast to the earth, and he's no longer going to have access to heaven. Which right now, he's our accuser before God. He still has access to heaven. But when he's cast to the earth, he's going to be cast to the earth having great wrath, because he knows that his time is short. The great dragon, old serpent called the devil and Satan, he's cast to the earth, and his angels are cast out with him. And he's cast to the earth having great wrath. Where is it? How come I don't have that highlighted? Oh, I do. The devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And it's going to be for a time, times and half a time, which is 3.5 years. It's the same period of time that the Antichrist is given power. Remember, he's given power for 42 months, which is 3.5 years. We've studied this 3.5 years that were shown over and over and over in previous live streams. And it's that 3.5 year period that Satan's going to be cast to the earth. And that's when he's going to create his Antichrist and step into power and take over the world, sitting in the temple of God, claiming to be God. And that's when the Great Tribulation starts, because he's going to then start hunting down all Jews and Christians and trying to kill us all.
And all the ones in the West Bank better get out of there, because they're going to be
Jesus said to
slain.
Run. Don't even get a change of clothes.
Yeah.
So the false prophet is at that time. I'm sure they're going to be making plans before this.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, about 8 months after the signing, the confirmation of the covenant, the Antichrist will stand up. Talked about that last week, I think. And he's going to begin gathering power. That's when he's going to claim to be the Mahdi, I'm almost certain. And he will create that 10-nation union of Islamic nations. And then he's going to align with the lion, the bear, and the leopard. And he's going to take over the world, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, he's still going to be fighting wars during his reign, but he's going to rule the world, the known world, and there's going to be outliers, but for the most part, he's going to rule the world.
See, I thought it was like a piece that was the whole world was at peace.
Now, we're shown that he's actually fighting wars during his reign.
Oh, yeah.
So there are some holdouts. So, but he's going to rule he's going to rule probably the whole continent of Asia, I would imagine. The European nations. It's going to have the lion, the bear, and the leopard, which is probably Britain, Germany, and Russia. And so they're going to rule that whole area, the Middle East and Europe.
But
there's going to be other holdouts.
But at some point, everyone's going to say we've finally reached world peace.
Well, the world's going to be saying peace and safety when Christ returns. They're going to be clamoring and reveling in abandon that the Antichrist, which will be the savior of the world in their eyes, has created this peace. Finally created world peace. And that's what they're going to be saying.
The world won't be at peace.
Well, these little wars that he's fighting are probably not going to be anything anybody cares about.
Those are the resistance.
Yeah. They're not going to count that as anything, I'm sure. So, so the false prophet's going to team up with him. And as you know, as we're shown, he's going to pull fire right out of thin air. He's going to make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles, which he had power to do on the sight of the beast. He's going to be doing miracles, pulling fire out of thin air. They're going to be showing him doing this on CNN. You know, look, he's from God, telling everyone to worship the man he's promoting. You're going to see it, guaranteed. CNN, mainstream media, all over the world. Yeah. So this is all going to be happening. The false prophet will probably team up before the Antichrist actually takes over the world, but we may not see that specifically until they as a team take over the world, and he's doing these miracles, which will be at the middle of those final 7 weeks. The final 7 weeks.
And Jay was wondering too.
The final 7th week, the final 7 years, sorry.
Jay was wondering the same thing, because he said, and that's the part that gets me, what would make people believe this? I just think something's going to happen to make people believe in miracles again. Yeah.
Well, he's going to be doing miracles in the sight of men. I mean, that's the thing is, you know, people are actually going to be standing there watching him pull fire right out of the sky. And that's they're going to watch him do that. It's you know, seeing is believing, right? They're going to say, whoa, you know, and then, you know, they're going to show it on TV and on all over the internet, but then there's going to be people that actually witness it in person.
And I'm sure that's not going to be the only thing. That
there's going to be other miracles. That's just one example. Yeah. But then you have to remember too, here's the main reason why people are going to believe it. It's because of the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. Satan is going to have powerful signs to cause everyone to be deceived.
And that's the answer to the thing, because he said, but to see a man do this and then think he's God. Because he's going to deceive.
Well, and remember, the false prophet is going to deceive the world into worshiping the Antichrist, the other guy. And he's going to be pulling fire out of the sky.
And if you don't
showing his godly power, supposedly, and say, here, worship him.
And if you don't love God, you're going to be deceived. If you're not on God's side, you are going to get sucked into that.
And here's the thing that I was going to just mention. It's Satan's the working of Satan with all power and signs. These are going to be very powerful signs and lying wonders of Satan. But it's not just that. It's that if you haven't received a love of the truth, if you don't love the truth, God will send a strong delusion that you will believe those lies.
Right.
So God himself will send you a strong delusion that you'll believe the lying wonders of Satan.
Well, then you're double whammied, because it is Satan's
it's a supernatural dumbness that's going to fall upon people. And it's like you. I'm like, how are people going to fall for that? But it's supernatural.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
spiritual realm. It's power outside of our physical realm that's going to cause the deceit, and God himself will help that deceit for those that don't love him. Because remember, why is God doing everything he's doing right now?
To find those who really love
To
him.
find those that really love him. And he's set it up so that it's really easy to not believe in him.
And that even we would believe the lies.
Yeah, it says that if it were possible, we would be deceived by those lies.
Yeah.
But it won't be possible because we have the Holy
Jesus.
Spirit. And the Holy Spirit will keep us from being deceived. But God has set it up so that it's so easy to just deny his existence, to choose to believe whatever we want, to follow our pride and our lust, do whatever we want, and deny that knowledge that we all have inside, because he set it up that way so that if we don't love him.
Yeah, Annie said people believe in things that aren't true now.
I know, right?
Yeah, they're deceived now.
But it's all part of God's plan to weed out all of those people that he doesn't want to bring into eternity. Why would he want to bring people into eternity that are going to turn against him eventually? I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Someone who's not all in a million years, they may convince themselves that they can go outside of God's will, right? Even if they toe the line for a million years, they're eventually going to convince themselves that they can do what they want. We don't want any of those people there, and neither does God, and that's why he set it up.
Yeah, he said true supernatural dumbness. If God himself is doing it, then yeah.
So, I know it's hard to believe people are that dumb. And the
devil is going to be deceiving. So
yeah, and it's like it's hard to believe people are as dumb as they are right now.
I know,
because some of the stuff people believe is just so dumb. It's like, how can you believe that? But just wait until Satan really ramps it up in the deceit.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse. Yeah, Annie said, if you're not all in, then you're all out.
That's right. Yeah, why do we want anyone going into eternity with us that's not all in?
Yes, I know.
I don't want them there.
No,
because like I said, even if they toe the line for a while, after a million years, a billion years, we got eternity. They're eventually going to turn.
Yeah.
And we don't want any of those people there.
No, I don't want those people there. Ruin my beach scene. Forget it.
And then so the Antichrist creates that alliance in Revelation 13, teams up with the false prophet. We see the war in heaven. I just talked about that, where Satan gets cast to the earth. We showed that, where he cast to the earth having great wrath, knowing that his time is short. And then we see the abomination of desolation, which is when the Antichrist sits in the temple of God claiming to be God. That's that event. That's when the Antichrist will be revealed. That's when we'll be able to know who he is.
Yeah.
And then in Revelation 11, we have the final 3.5 years. We have the two witnesses. And I know it's 8:15, and I really have I've gone into some more detail about what we talked about last week, which I hope people appreciate. I'm trying not to go too fast and just gloss over too much stuff. I want you to really understand these things, and that's why I'm here. And if it takes a long time, it takes a long time. I don't care. I didn't learn all this in a day, in a year. Not even really in a decade. It took me years and years and years of study to come to the knowledge that I have now. Yeah. And so, don't expect to have a full understanding immediately. We have to study it. We have to study to show ourselves approved, as God says. If we love God and love his truth and study his scriptures, he will reveal it to us. But not if we don't love him, not if we don't love his truth, and not if we're not seeking the truth. Why would he reveal it to us? Just like he taught in parables, because he doesn't want those that don't love him to understand. He wrote the whole Bible that way. He wrote prophecy that way. If you don't love him, he will not reveal that truth to you. It'll be a parable to you, and you won't get it. And so that's the crux of everything. The root of everything is to love God. Love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and being. And if you understand who God is and what he's done, how can you not love him?
I know.
He hasn't caused all this misery and evil in the world. He's allowed mankind to rule himself for 6,000 years, and that's why the world is such an evil, awful place. It's not because God is causing all of this.
No.
God's just allowing us to live the way we want.
Yeah, we're choosing that.
And we've created a horrible existence. Now, granted, things changed after the flood. Go and watch our seminar on creation versus evolution on my playlist on YouTube, and it talks about everything that happened at the flood and all of the evidence in the earth that we see from it and what changed in the earth. And it was because of sin. It was because, remember, how did God feel? And this is exactly how God feels right now. It says that God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. It grieved him that man had become so evil. He created us for glory, to live forever with him, with no pain and no sorrow and no death. Death was not part of creation. It became because of sin. And it was the imagination, the wickedness of man. And it grieved him at his heart. And that's why he flooded the earth and saved Noah and started over, basically.
And then they did it again.
But then it was only 300 years later when Abraham was that the whole world was becoming evil again. So God created a people through Abraham. But right now, God is grieved at his heart. He is grieving over the wickedness, the vile wickedness, the evil that we think is so horrible. God is grieving at his heart because of all of that. God hates it.
Yeah. He's
not causing all this. And, people think that God's up there just... I don't even understand that mentality. God is grieving right now. He hates what's going on. But so what I'll do is I'll stop here since we're at 8:20. And what I'm going to do next week is that I'm not going to do another summary run through. I'm going to try to keep our talk about the politics and current events short. And I'm going to
video.
Yeah, make sure you watch that video that I'm going to link it in the comments after we're done here. But what I'll do next week is I'll just kind of a real fast summary, pick it up where I'm leaving off here, and we'll talk about the next the final 3.5 years and everything, the two witnesses and everything that goes on during that time, and then what comes at the end of that, and what we're going to see when God pours out his wrath and all that. So we'll pick that up next week. And I will see you then. But let's pray real quick and then we'll say goodbye. So, yeah. And I was going to, but thank you. Thank you, Lord, for giving us all this information, for providing the picture that you drew for us that just so easily shows us how it's all going to play out in the end, for giving us all the prophecies and telling us how it ends so we don't even have to wonder. We just watch it happen, Lord, and try to help you to increase the kingdom while we're here. and watching. Thank you, Lord, so much for that. And we pray, Lord, that you would heal Annie and just take this illness, whatever it is, and just take it from her, Lord. Fill her with your spirit. Heal her from the inside out.
Yeah.
For your glory and your honor, Lord. In the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Let's see.
So thanks everyone for being here.
Paul and Johanna said, thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Glad to see you here.
Yeah. And Jay said, thanks for the message, guys. He said, stay healthy, Diane.
Yeah. And I always appreciate your comments,
and he said,
Jay.
Amen.
Appreciate you being here with us.
Yes.
And Diane, glad you could at least join us on the live stream. Here. And thank you, Jody, for watching Rumble for us.
Yeah, thank you,
Jody.
We
appreciate you. I know that you're kind of unseen in the background, but we really appreciate you being here with us and doing that. So thank you.
Sissy said, thanks for the prayers.
Yeah.
You had a lot of people praying for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So don't forget to subscribe. Smash that like button. Yeah. I know I'm taking your thunder.
I know.
Go ahead.
Anyways, she said you're very welcome. Jody did. And so my sissy, Paul, Johanna, Jay, Jody, those are just the people that we see and the people that we don't see. Thank you so much for being here. And so I want to say, what is it? Same bat
place, same bat time, same bat
face,
channel.
Blue smile. Same
bat place, same bat time, same bat channel.
Yeah, that's it. She said,
we'll see you Wednesday.
Blue smiling. Okay. Yeah, we'll see you next Wednesday, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Love you all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Now we're saying.